I never thought my life would turn out like this. Jill and I used to be happy. I thought our love was strong and our future looked bright. We planned to grow old together, sitting on our porch, watching our grandchildren play. But as we neared our 9th anniversary, things started to change. It began slowly. Jill became distant, not as warm as before. She started getting annoyed with small things like my shoes in the hallway or my jokes. Our closeness, once full of love and excitement, disappeared. Nights that were once filled with laughter and secrets became quiet and tense. I tried to ignore it. Maybe it was stress from work or just part of married life. I told myself every couple goes through tough times. But as weeks turned into months, I couldn't ignore the late nights and secretive behavior anymore. Jill would come home late, saying she was with coworkers. She'd shower right away and avoid talking. One night, as she was about to leave again, I finally asked her directly, "Jill, what's happening? You've been so distant lately." I said, trying to keep my voice steady. She sighed, not meeting my eyes. "It's nothing, just work stress. You wouldn't understand." Her words stung, but I nodded, not wanting to push her away further. "If you ever want to talk, I'm here." She gave a curt nod and left, leaving me alone with my thoughts. The house felt emptier without her, the silence echoing my fears. I confided in Mary, my childhood friend and colleague. We had known each other since high school, and he was the one person I could trust with anything. "Barry, I think Jill is cheating on me," I said one afternoon, my voice barely above a whisper. Barry looked at me, his expression serious. "Tony, are you sure? Jill always seemed so devoted." "I don't know, men. She's been acting so strange, coming home late, being secretive. Our sex life is practically dead." Barry leaned back in his chair, thinking. "All the signs are there, Tony. If you want my opinion, I think you should find out for sure. Better to know than to keep living in doubt." His words hit me hard. Deep down, I knew he was right. I needed to know the truth, even if it shattered my world. I thanked him and returned to my office, my mind racing with possibilities. That evening, I decided to take action. I couldn't bear the uncertainty any longer. I found a private investigator named Joe Amos who agreed to meet me the next day. It was embarrassing to tell him my situation, but Joe was professional and understanding. He said, "Mr. Rowan, if your wife is cheating, I'll find the proof you need." After leaving his office, I felt both hopeful and scared. I hoped I was wrong and Jill was just going through a tough time, but I couldn't shake the feeling of doubt. The next week, Joe called me with the results. He said, "Mr. Rowan, I'm sorry to say I found some bad news. I have the report in a DVD for you. If I were you, I wouldn't watch it. Knowing is one thing, but seeing is something else entirely." I thanked him and took the envelope with trembling hands. Back in my office, I debated whether to open it. My heart pounded as I finally slid the DVD into my laptop. The images that played before me were worse than I had imagined. Jill, the woman I loved, was with another man, doing things that made my stomach churn. I felt like a part of me had died watching that footage. The woman I thought I knew was a stranger. My world crumbled, and I knew I had to confront her to face the truth head on. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of my nightmare. Hiring a private investigator was a step I never thought I would take. It felt like something out of a crime novel, not my life. But there I was, sitting in Joe Amos' dimly lit office, nervously tapping my fingers on the armrest of my chair. "Mr. Rowan, I understand how difficult this must be for you," Joe said, his voice calm and reassuring. "But rest assured, I'll uncover the truth." I nodded, feeling a mix of hope and dread. "Thanks, Joe. I really need to find out." Joe leaned in closer, his eyes serious. "I'll figure this out. You can count on me." Days passed and turned into weeks, each one more painful than the last. Every time Jill came home late or avoided looking at me, my doubts grew stronger. I tried to appear calm on the outside, but inside I was falling apart. Barry was my support during this tough time, always ready to listen and give me advice. One evening, Barry and I sat in a quiet corner of our favorite pub. The usual buzz of conversation and clinking glasses felt distant, overshadowed by my anxiety. "How are you holding up, Tony?" Barry asked, his brow furrowed with concern. I sighed, taking a sip of my beer. "Barely. I can't stop thinking about what Joe might find." Barry placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "Whatever happens, I'm here for you, man. We'll get through this together." A few days later, Joe called. "Mr. Rowan, I have the results. Can you come by my office?" My heart sank. "I'll be there in 30 minutes. The drive to Joe's office felt like an eternity. When I finally arrived, Joe greeted me with a somber expression. He handed me a thick envelope and a DVD. "Mr. Rowan, the evidence is clear." "I'm sorry." I took the envelope, my hands shaking. "Thank you, Joe." Back in my office, I stared at the envelope, dreading what I would find inside. After a deep breath, I opened it and began to read the report. Each word felt like a dagger to my heart. Jill had been seeing another man, meeting him during her so-called girls' nights out. The detailed accounts of their encounters made my stomach churn. Then there was the DVD. Joe had told me not to watch it, but I couldn't stop myself. I had to see it with my own eyes. With shaking hands, I put the disc into my laptop and hit play. The screen lit up, showing Jill and her lover in our bedroom, the same room where we had so many special moments together, seeing them hurt so much. The woman I loved, the mother of our future kids, was living a secret life. I felt furious and embarrassed. How could she do this to me? To us? I couldn't just sit back and let it continue. I needed to catch her in the act, to confront her with undeniable proof. That night, I called Barry. "Barry, I need your help," I said, my voice shaking. "Tony, what's going on?" Barry asked. Were he evident in his tone? "I have proof, Barry. Jill is cheating on me. I saw it with my own eyes." There was a long pause before Barry spoke again. "I'm so sorry, Tony. What do you need me to do?" "I need to catch her in the act. I want her to see that I know that she can't hide this from me anymore." Barry sighed. "All right, I'm with you. Let's do this." The following Thursday, I left work early and headed home, my heart pounding with anticipation and dread. As I approached our house, I saw Jill's car in the driveway. Taking a deep breath, I quietly entered the house and made my way upstairs. The sight that greeted me was worse than I had imagined. Jill and her lover were in her bed, oblivious to my presence. My anger boiled over, but I forced myself to stay calm. "Jill," I said, my voice steady, but filled with pain. They both froze, turning to look at me with wide eyes. Jill's face went pale, and she quickly covered herself. "Tony, I can explain," she stammered. I shook my head, feeling a wave of sadness and betrayal. "Don't bother, Jill. I know everything." Her lover rushed to grab his clothes, but I paid him no mind. My attention was fixed on Jill, the woman who had destroyed my world. "I trusted you," I said, my voice cracking. "How could you do this to us?" Tears filled her eyes. But I couldn't feel sorry for her. I turned away and walked out, leaving behind a life I thought I knew. Little did I realize this choice would lead me into a world of unbearable heartache and betrayal. The discovery was just the beginning. I waited for the right moment, knowing Jill's routine. The days felt endless, but finally Thursday arrived. I left work early, my heart pounding with a mix of anger and dread. As I drove home, I tried to prepare myself for what I might find. But nothing could have prepared me for the scene that would haunt me forever. As I approached our house, I saw Jill's car in the driveway. Taking a deep breath, I quietly entered and made my way upstairs. My heart felt like it was going to burst out of my chest. When I reached our bedroom door, I hesitated for a moment, then pushed it open. The sight before me was worse than any nightmare. Jill was with 3 men tangled in her bed. They were laughing, oblivious to my presence. My blood ran cold, and a wave of nausea hit me. Jill noticed me first. Her eyes widened in surprise. But then she smiled, a twisted, satisfied smile. "Tony," she said, almost purring. "I didn't expect you home so early." Her face was smeared with evidence of her infidelity, and her voice dripped with mockery. Tears filled my eyes with anger and feeling betrayed. "Jill, what is going on?" I asked, my voice trembling. One of the men, a big guy with a tattoo on his arm, turned to face me. "Looks like the hubby's back," he sneered. Before I could do anything, they moved quickly. The three men overpowered me easily, holding on to me tightly. I fought against them, but it was no use. They tied me to a chair and put a gag on me to stop me from talking. Jill came up to me, her smile staying on her face. "You wanted to know the truth, Tony. Well, here it is." Tears streamed down my face as I looked up at her. The woman I had loved and trusted. "Why, Jill, why do this to us?" I tried to speak through the gag, but my words were muffled. One of the men laughed and punched me hard in the stomach. "Shut up, weakling." Pain exploded in my abdomen, and I gasped for breath. Another punch landed on my face, and everything went black. When I woke up, I was in a van, bound and hooded. The cold metal floor pressed against my skin, and I could hear the low hum of the engine. I tried to move, but my wrists and ankles were tied tightly. "Looks like he's awake," a voice said, muffled by the hood over my head. "Good," another voice replied. "Saves us the trouble of carrying him." A hand slapped the back of my head. "Get up, weakling." I struggled to my feet, my body aching from the earlier beating. They pushed me forward, and I stumbled, trying to keep my balance. I silently prayed that whatever they were going to do, it would be quick. If this was my fate, I wanted it to be over soon. The van came to a stop, and I was roughly pulled out. The hood made it impossible to see, but I could feel the cold night air on my skin. They dragged me a few steps and then threw me to the ground. I landed hard, the impact sending jolts of pain through my body, helpless and broken. The sound of their car driving away faded into the distance, leaving me alone in the darkness. My mind raced, trying to understand how things had gone so wrong. What had I done to deserve this? Why did Jill dislike me so much? After what felt like a long time, I managed to free my hands. I took the hood off my head and looked around. I was in a forest, surrounded by trees and darkness. My body hurt with every step. But I knew I couldn't stay there. Slowly, I stood up and started walking, hoping to find someone who could help me. Eventually, I found a small house. The lights were on, and I could hear someone inside. Using the last of my energy, I knocked on the door. A woman opened it, her face filled with concern. "Who are you? What happened to you?" she asked, helping me inside. "I need help," I managed to say, collapsing into a chair. "My name is Tony, my wife. She did this to me." The woman who introduced herself as Rosie took care of me, bandaging my wounds and giving me food and water. As I lay in her spare bed that night, I couldn't help but wonder what would come next. My life had been shattered, and I was left to pick up the pieces. But for now, all I could do was rest and gather the strength to face whatever lay ahead. I regained consciousness in the middle of nowhere, bruised and battered. The cold night air stunned my wounds, and I could barely move. My captors had left me for dead, but I wasn't ready to give up. Slowly, I managed to free myself, my fingers trembling as I untied the ropes binding my wrists and ankles. The darkness was thick, and every step I took sent waves of pain through my body. I stumbled through the underbrush, each breath a struggle. The forest seemed endless, the trees closing in on me. But I couldn't stop. I had to find help. Had to survive. After what felt like hours, I saw a faint light in the distance. I pushed myself forward, my vision blurring. The light grew brighter, and soon I found myself at the edge of a clearing. In the center stood a small cottage, warm light spilling from its windows. I gathered the last of my strength and knocked on the door. A woman opened it, her eyes widening in shock at the sight of me. "Who are you? What happened to you? Are you okay? She asked, sounding worried. My name's Tony, I managed to say hoarsely. I need help. Without hesitation, she said. Come in quickly. She assisted me inside and guided me to a chair. The warmth inside the cottage was a stark difference from the cold darkness outside. The woman moved swiftly, fetching bandages and water. I'm Rosie, she said gently. You're safe now. Let me take care of those wounds. Rosa's kindness was overwhelming. She cleaned and bandaged my cuts, her touch gentle but firm. I could barely keep my eyes open, exhaustion threatening to pull me under. Thank you, I whispered, my voice breaking. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't found me. She smiled, a warm, reassuring smile. Don't worry about that now. Take it easy. You're safe now. In the following days, Rosie took care of me until I felt better. She listened quietly while I shared about Jill, the betrayal, and the night I was taken. Why would she do that to you? Rosie asked one evening as we sat near the fire. I wish I knew, I replied, gazing at the flames. I loved her. I thought she loved me, too. But now it feels like everything was a lie. Rosie placed a comforting hand on my shoulder. You're strong, Tony. You'll get through this and you'll come out stronger on the other side. Her compassion gave me the strength I needed. As my body healed, my mind began to focus on what I had to do next. Revenge was the only thing on my mind. I couldn't let Jill and those men get away with what they had done to me. One morning, as I was finally able to walk around the cottage without feeling dizzy, Rosie approached me. Tony, what are you planning to do? She asked, her eyes searching mine. I need to make them pay for what they did. I replied, my voice firm. I can't just let this go. Rosie sighed. I understand your anger, but be careful. Revenge can consume you if you're not careful. I have to do this, Rosie, for my own peace of mind. She nodded slowly. Just promise me you'll be careful. And remember, you have a friend here if you ever need help. Thank you, Rosie, for everything. With Rosa's words in my heart, I left the cottage determined to carry out my plan. My body still a CHD. But my resolve was stronger than ever. I couldn't let Jill's betrayal define me. I had to take control of my life again, no matter the cost. As I walked away from the cottage, I knew that the road ahead would be difficult. But with Rosie's kindness and my own determination, I was ready to face whatever came next. The nightmare was far from over, but I was no longer a helpless victim. I was a man with a mission, and I wouldn't rest until justice was served. With Rosie's help, I got better and was able to leave her cottage. Her kindness had been a ray of hope during the toughest time of my life. Before I departed, she looked at me with seriousness but care. Tony, promise me you'll be careful, Rosie said, sounding worried. Seeking revenge can be risky. I nodded, understanding your concern, but determined in my decision. I will, Rosie. Thank you for everything. As I returned to the city, I reached out to Barry, my lifelong friend who had supported me throughout this ordeal. Barry, I need your help, I said over the phone. My voice determined. Tony, what are you planning? Barry asked, concern evident in his tone. I need to gather more evidence against Jill and her lovers. I'm going to plant bugs in the house, I replied. There was a pause before Barry spoke again. All right, Tony. I'll help you. Just be careful. I returned home under the cover of darkness, my heart pounding with a mix of fear and resolve. The house, once a place of love and dreams, now felt like a battlefield. I entered quietly, making sure no one was around. Planting the bugs was easier than I had anticipated. I placed them strategically in the living room and bedroom, the areas where Jill and her lovers spent most of their time. The following Friday, I waited outside. My car parked a safe distance away. Through the bugs, I listened to their depravity. Each word fueling my anger, the laughter, the moans, the disgusting words they shared. It all built up inside me until I felt like I would explode. Tony, are you sure about this? Barry's voice crackled through my phone. He had insisted on staying in contact with me, worried about my state of mind. Yes, Barry. I can't let them get away with this, I replied, my voice cold and resolute. As the night wore on, the sounds from the house grew more obscene. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what I had to do. I grabbed the canisters of gasoline from my trunk and approached the house, staying in the shadows. I poured the gasoline around the perimeter, making sure to soak the walls and the ground thoroughly. My hands shook, but I forced myself to stay calm. When I was done, I took out a box of matches, my heart pounding in my chest. I lit a match and watched the flame flicker before dropping it into the gasoline. The fire started fast, flames shooting up to devour the house. I moved back, seeing the fire grow and take over everything. Inside, I heard screams and confusion as Jill and her lovers understood. There was no escape. The fire was too strong and too quick. I stood far away, watching my old home turn to ashes. Barry's voice came on the phone. Panicked. Tony, what did you do? It's over, Barry, I said, my voice devoid of emotion. They're gone. I felt a twisted sense of justice as I watched the flames illuminate the night. The fire was a purging force, consuming the lies, betrayal, and pain. As the last of the structure crumbled, I felt a strange sense of relief. The nightmare was finally over. I turned away from the burning wreckage and walked back to my car. Barry was still on the line, his voice filled with concern and fear for me. Tony, you need to get out of there. The police will be coming. Barry urged. I know, Barry, I'm leaving now, I replied, starting the engine and driving away from the scene. As I drove, the weight of what I had done settled over me. The fire had consumed more than just the house. It had taken a part of my soul with it, but I couldn't dwell on that now. I had to keep moving to start anew. The road ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear. I would never be the same again. The flames had burned away the past, leaving only the future, and I was determined to face it, no matter what it held. The news of the fire spread quickly through the town. The once quiet neighborhood was now a buzz of activity with fire trucks, police cars, and curious onlookers filling the streets. Jill and her lovers were dead, their bodies found in the churned remains of what used to be our home. I played the role of the grieving husband perfectly. The shock on my face, the tears that fell effortlessly, all part of the facade I had to maintain. Inside I was a mix of emotions, but outwardly I had to appear devastated by the tragedy. The detectives questioned me, but I had an alibi thanks to Barry. He had been my support, guiding me through every twist of this strange journey. Tony, where were you the night of the fire? Detective Hobson asked, his sharp eyes focused on me. I was with my friend Barry, I replied calmly. We were working late on a project. You can ask him. Hobson nodded, writing in his notebook. We'll do that. I'm sorry for your loss, Mr. Owen. I thanked him, keeping a sorrowful expression. Inside, I felt turmoil, but I had to stay composed. Attending Jill's funeral felt unreal. The coffin, the flowers, the mourners, it all seemed like a strange dream. As I approached the grave, I held a single rose in my hand. When it was my turn, I stepped forward and looked down at the coffin, bidding a final farewell to the woman who had betrayed me. Goodbye, Jill, I whispered, dropping the rose into the grave. People offered condolences around me, but their words were distant. The ceremony felt endless, and when it was finally over, I made my way back to my car, feeling a strange sense of closure. Returning to my life was challenging. The events of the past few weeks haunted me, but I was determined to move forward. Barry remained a constant support, checking in on me regularly. How are you holding up, Tony? He asked one evening as we sat in my new apartment. A small but cozy place far from the memories of the past. I'm getting there, I replied, offering a small smile. Thanks for being here, Barry. I don't know what I would have done without you. Barry nodded. You don't have to thank me. That's what friends are for. As the days turned into weeks, I found solace in a new relationship. Her name was Emily, a kind and understanding woman I met at a local coffee shop. She had a warm smile and a gentle demeanor, and being with her brought a sense of normalcy back into my life. One evening, as we sat on the balcony of my apartment watching the sunset, Emily turned to me. "Tony, you've been through so much. How do you feel now?" She asked, her eyes filled with genuine concern. I took a deep breath, thinking about her question. "I'm still haunted by what happened, but I'm trying to move on. Meeting you has helped a lot." She reached out and held my hand. "I'm glad I could be here for you. You're a strong person, Tony. I believe in you." Her words brought a sense of peace I hadn't felt in a long time. We sat in comfortable silence, the warmth of her hand in mine grounding me in the present. The road to recovery was long, but with Emily by my side and Barry's unwavering support, I felt cautiously hopeful for the future. The past would always be a part of me, but it no longer defined who I was. I felt prepared to handle whatever came my way, knowing I had the strength to overcome any challenge. Life after the difficult times was tough, but I was determined to rebuild. Days were often long and sometimes lonely, but I tackled them one step at a time. Emily, a woman from my apartment complex who had shown interest in me, became a source of comfort and stability. We took our time rebuilding trust, and her presence brought calm to my chaotic life. One evening, as we sat in the apartment courtyard, Emily looked at me kindly. "Tony, how are you feeling today?" she asked, concern and warmth in her eyes. I took a deep breath, feeling the cool breeze on my face. "Better, I think. It's still hard sometimes, but having you here helps a lot." She squeezed my hand. "I'm glad I can be here for you. You've been through so much, but you're strong. We'll get through this together." Her words were a balm to my wounded soul. We spent many evenings like that, talking about everything and nothing, finding solace in each other's company. Slowly but surely, I began to heal. I found a new purpose in my work, channeling my energy into projects that kept my mind occupied. My role as a consulting engineer allowed me to dive into intricate designs and complex problems, providing a much-needed distraction from the past. The satisfaction of seeing a project come to life gave me a sense of accomplishment that I had long forgotten. One day, as I was sketching out plans for a new building, Barry stopped by my office. He had been my constant support through everything, and seeing him always brought a sense of normalcy. "Hey Tony, how's it going?" Barry asked, leaning against the doorframe. I looked up from my drawings and smiled. "It's going well, Barry. Keeping busy, you know." Barry nodded. "That's good to hear. I'm proud of you, man. You've come a long way." "Thanks, Barry. I couldn't have done it without you." Barry walked over and clapped me on the shoulder. "Anytime, Tony. You know I'm always here for you." As the months passed, the scars of the past began to fade. They were still there, but they no longer defined me. I was starting to enjoy life again, finding happiness in simple things. Emily and I grew closer, and our relationship became a pillar of my new life. One evening, we stood on my apartment balcony watching the sunset. I turned to Emily, feeling deeply thankful. "Emily, thank you for being here for me," I said sincerely. "I don't know where I'd be without you." She smiled, her eyes shining with emotion. "Tony, you've taught me so much about strength and resilience. I'm grateful we found each other." We stood there quietly, watching the sky turn shades of orange and pink. The sunset's beauty showed me that life moves forward, even after pain and betrayal. Despite all I'd endured, I had made it through. The tough times were over and I was still here. Ahead of me lay a new chapter full of chances to heal and grow. Looking out at the city, I felt peaceful and hopeful. The past was with me, but it didn't control my future anymore. With Emily beside me and a heart slowly healing, I was ready for whatever came next. Second story. 6 years of relationship is a lie. Long-term revenge plan needed. A year ago, I found out my husband has been cheating on me emotionally and physically since we got together. While I don't have solid proof, I have enough messages, apps, and photos that confirm he's been unfaithful. I'm devastated because I loved him deeply. We've been trying to have a baby together. When I confronted him before, he cried and begged for forgiveness. Since then, I've had doubts, but he keeps making me feel like I can trust him and that my suspicions cause him anxiety. Just recently, I saw him messaging another woman on Facebook, and I've had enough. There wasn't anything explicit in the messages. But they have no mutual friends, and he tried to video call her. There have been many times when I've caught him deleting texts or texting late at night. Here's where I need advice. I would never cheat to get back at him. I want to handle this situation with integrity. We both came from humble beginnings and worked hard to build what we have. The thought of walking away and losing everything is frightening. I want to make sure I get what's rightfully mine and more. I want him to face consequences, and I'm willing to be patient for that. I need advice on financial planning, how to secure my share, and how to make sure he faces consequences. Please don't leave hurtful comments. I'm feeling very emotional and hurt right now.